Hello and welcome to Tax Matters, and we do hope your various businesses are moving on well. We begin by taking a look at the 4 cardinal pillars of the Muhammad Nami administration at the FIRS. Rebuilding FIRS institutional framework, robust collaboration with stakeholders, building a customer-focused and a data-centric institution. The 4th cardinal pillar essentially revolves around the use of technology. Of course, the FIRS has been up and running in this regard with technology driving its process for some time, one of the fruits of this being the collection performance of the service in the year 2020. Oh, the year 2020. What an eventful year. In spite of the effect of COVID-19 on life and living and on economic activities, the Federal Inland Revenue Service was able to contribute 70% of the total revenue shared among the 3 tiers of government at the monthly FAC meeting in the year 2020. How was this achieved? That you will hear presently from Dr. Asheikh Maidugu, Coordinating Director of Digital Support Group at the FIRS. The program is Tax Matters, and I'm Chamaka Ohauchi.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government covers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
Dr. Maidugu, thank you for joining us on Tax Matters.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, your group, to use your words at a recent event, sees to the end-to-end application of ICT in FIRS operations, and this is our cue for this interaction with you today. 2 things stood out from the beginning of this year, 2021. The renewed emphasis on technology and automation and the emphasis on indirect taxes over and above direct taxes. I would like to know, how is your group supporting these efforts being made in these initiatives?
Well, thank you. This is a very important question. And for us in the digital support group in the FIRS, our mandate is to deploy technology in tax administration. And over the years, the service has invested a lot in ICT infrastructure and modernization of our processes. So basically what we do is, as part of our mandate, we drive the modernization, technology modernization in FIRS so that we provide end-to-end solution to our taxpayers. The taxpayers being our clients, we intend, or what we do is to provide, improve their customer experience. So what we do is to provide solutions that will aid them in filing their returns at the right time so that the compliance cost is drastically reduced to the barest minimum. So that is what we do. And as we are all aware, the ICT sector is one of the driving sectors of the Nigerian economy. If you look at the statistics that was recently released by the National Bureau of Statistics, it was reported that the sector contributed in real GDP to the real GDP by about 15% in 2020. So you will agree with me that this is a sector that is making a huge contribution to the Nigerian economy. And as FIRS, we're doing whatever that is possible to make the payment of taxes very easy for the taxpayers through the deployment of relevant technology.
Okay, now the aim of all this is to generate more revenue for the government. We would like to know, are there still, or is there any new initiative or initiatives embarked upon by the service to take tax automation of the process, the tax process, to the next level?
Well, recently the service, in an effort to introduce an end-to-end tax administration solution, develop an in-house a tax administration solution which is called Tax Pro Max. So it is an inbuilt tax administration solution built by our staff in the FIRS. And this solution has been deployed. So with this solution, taxpayers using this very simple solution can register for taxes, can file their returns using the solution from the comfort of their offices or from the comfort of their houses, and then also make payments through the solution. So a taxpayer with this solution doesn't need to come to the tax office. So he's at liberty to sit at the comfort of his environment to file the returns, and then once he files his returns appropriately through the solution, then he will, at the end of the day, also generate his taxpayer tax clearance certificate. So the tax clearance certificate is automatically, sent to the email of the taxpayer.
Now, we know that 2020 was an eventful year with the pounding the economy received from COVID-19. Now, we'd like to know, how did the FIRS cope during the 2020 lockdown?
Well, 2020 was a very difficult year for Nigeria, as well as other countries. COVID-19, with all its attendant features, actually have affected the way businesses are run globally. So Nigeria is not an exception because we are part of the global village. Now, during the pandemic, as a result of the adherence to the COVID-19 protocols as reeled out by the National Center for Disease Control, we have to observe these protocols. So most of our offices are actually operated virtually, in the sense that audit was suspended. There are a lot of palliatives given to taxpayers. But we make sure that by using appropriate technology, our offices operated virtually. So we had interaction with the taxpayers virtually, in the sense that because of our different platforms, they provided, they file using our platform. In terms of even audit, they provided what we requested as it relates to their books, through the channels that have been provided. We also had reconciliation meetings via Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and other platforms. And behold, as a result of using this appropriate technology and our platform, we are able to collect 4.9 trillion naira, which is about 98% of our target. And we hope to continue improving on this technology so that we will achieve more in the future.
The interview with Dr. Maidugu continues next episode, as we quickly move on to bring you the story of an event that very well keys into what we are discussing: the use of technology in driving tax administration, and of course, how technology helped the tax authorities, led by the FIRS on one hand, and taxpayers on the other, to navigate the terrain in the year 2020 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, how will technology assist in the post-COVID era? From Thursday the 25th to Friday the 26th of February 2021, the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria hosted the 7th International Conference of the West African Union of Tax Institutes, Wauti. It was tagged Lagos 2021. The theme was designing and implementing tax measures for the COVID-19 era and beyond. In keeping with COVID-19 protocols, the conference was held both virtually and physically. Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, chairman of the Wauti high-level think tank, had the task of setting the agenda for the two-day international conference.
We thought that we needed to look at what's most important to us at this time as a people and also for the region, and in fact, beyond ECOWAS, what is important to Africa. So we have issues ranging from measures to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic and issues around digital economy, as well as the African Continental Free Trade Area. We also thought that it would be important, especially because of the lessons from COVID-19, to look at taxation and development. Today we face unprecedented challenges like never before, because COVID-19 is a crisis like no other. It has altered the way we live, work, and play, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Therefore, as a people, we have to figure out the best way to live safely with the virus for the foreseeable future. It is no longer a binary choice between saving lives or preserving livelihoods. It has to be both. For policymakers, this requires that we have to think out of the box, think quickly, smartly, and effectively. We need to remodel the tax system to be fit for purpose and for our new normal, addressing key issues such as permanent establishment, residency, and digital economy. We need to build trust through transparency and social exchange. We see many of our people, their livelihoods were gone in a matter of days. Because in Africa, and we know this in Nigeria very well, many people live from hand to mouth, literally. So when you say lockdown for 2 weeks, they cannot survive. Not only have they consumed their profits, they consume capital alongside. We also have realized that as a result of COVID-19, it's important for us to have data, not just data, robust and reliable data, as this will be necessary for us to administer interventions, measures, and to measure their effectiveness. Therefore, it's important for us to use data for tax intelligence to reduce evasion and aggressive avoidance and ensure everyone pays their fair share. We have seen our vulnerabilities across Africa, from Zambia to Nigeria to South Africa and every nation in between.
And quite rightly, the papers presented in the course of the two-day conference centered around these issues. But before then, President and Chairman in Council, Dame Olajumoke Simply delivered her opening address.
What have we done in Wauti? What have we done? We have moved from just two countries, Ghana, Nigeria. We moved out. We moved out to other countries to encourage them to develop their own institutes, because that is the fastest way to develop the professionals. Basically, what we have done is to open the eyes of the region to the fact that we can develop domestic revenue through professionalization of taxation.
Goodwill messages were presented by the very first president of Wauti, past president of the CITN, Prince Razak Kunle Quadri, and the executive chairman FIRS, who was ably represented by Mr. Innocent Ohagwa. high point of the 7th Wauti International Task Conference was the presence of the Governor of Kebbi State, His Excellency Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, who was a special guest of honor. Alhaji Bagudu, who was unavoidably absent at the opening ceremony on day 1, came in on the second day to underscore the importance that he attached to the conference.
One of the issues that bothers me and intrigues me as a state chief executive is that we are making do with what the tax authorities can afford to collect. And I thought the discourse should start with how much do we need to fund the social contract for the populace. Nigeria, West African countries, apart from low level of tax to GDP ratio, we also have some of the lowest per capita spending in the world. Even when Nigeria this year announced a budget of 13.588 trillion, which translates to about $35 billion, the per capita spending is less than $110 per person. Many studies have shown that at the period when countries achieved economic growth, the spending per capita is quite high, particularly government spending per capita, in order to generate the infrastructure spending that will lead to more income, more private sector, more taxation.
On the challenge for the future?
The bigger challenge is if we wish to achieve more than 7% growth, which other countries with whom we are competing with had achieved. What kind of funding do we want for public spending? And I believe that can be costed, that can be measured. And then what is because borrowing is a reflection of your confidence about the future. And certainly we are confident about our future, and we have to invest in it so that it can yield greater returns and help us to expand the economy in such a way that will collect more revenues and will be able to deliver on the numerous potentials that we have.
As would be expected, the two-day conference produced a communique.
The recommendations, in brief, task measures must be put in place to curb the outcome of COVID-19 pandemic and create a win-win situation. It is essential for entities to optimize their tax obligation to survive the outcome of COVID-19 pandemic. Tax authorities should consider the extension of the due date for tax filings by taxpayers. The need for reprofiling to focus on digitally marketed goods and services. Blocking loopholes in domestic revenue mobilization, such as illicit financial flows in the natural resources sectors, among others. Reforms in tax legislation in areas such as voluntary disclosure requirements, expeditious tax dispute resolution procedures, and so on.
For greater clarity on the work of Wauti, we spoke to Mr. Oyedele and Dame Simplis.
What's the idea behind the high-level think tank?
Thank you very much. So the idea is, first and foremost, we know that our countries across Africa, I should say, not just ECOWAS, are facing significant challenges from the economic side. And some of these issues are also connected to taxes and tax policies and legislation as well. And our mandate was simply to look at the issues we face across the region and say, how would this fit into issues of tax, tax policies, tax legislation, tax administration, and how can we develop important conversation topics to drive the agenda for this conference, which would then culminate into some communique that we can share with governments across ECOWAS and across Africa, and particularly to even the African Union, because one of the things we then came up with was the African Continental Free Trade Area that took effect from 1st of January 2021 to do a review and say, what's the journey so far? What are the lessons we can learn? And also issues that are topical today around digital economy taxation, and of course issues around tax governance. So that is the whole essence of it. We had members from 7 different countries across West Africa that joined the committee for us to develop this sub-team and main team for the conference. This is the 7th conference, and we have seen some of the recommendations and initiatives from previous conferences being implemented across the region.
You are one of the founding fathers. So what was the idea behind Wauti? What was the dream of the founding fathers?
Our dream was to have one solid revenue professionals, that we can share ideas, that we can develop the institutions in each other's country, that we can have things like peer reviews. What are you doing in your country concerning taxation? What am I doing in my country concerning taxations? How can we learn from each other? What can we borrow from each other? That was the idea. And then we look at the fact that we need to develop that profession, the passion to develop the profession of taxation across the country, across the sub-region. We felt that because CITG is doing very well, CITN is doing very well. And how are we doing very well? Because we are able to impact the laws of taxation in our 2 countries. We were able to impact development of the profession in our 2 countries. And we felt, well, let it not just be the 2 countries. It is good for us. So we believe that it will be good for them. That was how we started to go around. We needed to look at the structure of taxation in each other's country. We needed to see how you are doing it better than I am. What am I doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? And then together we developed the profession. Even though the architecture in each country will remain, but we can import some structures from each other. It is the same thing with what WATAF is doing, West African Tax Arbitration Forum. That is the same thing that they are doing. So we believe that together, the Administrators Forum, the Professionals, Practitioners Forum, if we come together, we develop the tax ambience of each other's country.
Now that seed that was planted has germinated, how many countries do you have now as members?
Now, virtually all the countries except, I think, Cape Verde and Equatorial Guinea.
We do hope that the 7th International Tax Conference of the West African Union of Tax Institutes has contributed its own quota to the efforts of governments within the West African sub-region and indeed across Africa in coping with the COVID-19 era and beyond. As you have seen, the Federal Inland Revenue Service is more than equal to the task. Remember, the concluding part of our interview with Dr. Asheikh Maidugu will come to you in the next episode of the program. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful month of March.